I know. Oh my gosh. I'm going to call the meeting of the Historic Resource Commission for September 8th, 2023 to order. Can I have a roll call?
Chairperson Drews, Vice Chair Schmitter, Commissioner Block,
Here.
Commissioner Darney, Commissioner Schmidt, Commissioner Spielda, Commissioner Wright. A quorum is present.
Okay, great. Just want to make a note that we're in the Bob Kroll Boardroom at the Carson City Community Center. The date is September 8th, 2023. Has the meeting been appropriately posted?
Yes, it has.
Okay. And has there been any public comment received in writing or via telephone?
Oh, we have not received any public comment.
Okay, great. So we'll move on to agenda item 4 for public possible action, approval of the minutes from July 24th, 2023. Commissioners have any comments?
Michelle, let me stop. Madam
Darn
Chair,
it, I
let
thought
me
I was
stop.
going.
Let me stop you for a minute. You do have to ask for any public comment for anybody in the audience
at
that
this
wants
time?
at this time
At this time.
that anybody wants, if anybody wants to comment.
Okay. Any public comments at this time? Please state your name for the record.
Thank you very much, Chair and Board or Commissioners. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. I'm a first, maybe second timer at one of your meetings, and I appreciate your introduction and the way you're getting on to this. Helps me a great deal. Thank you very much, and I look forward to making observation of this event, and thank you for all being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Can I move on to item 4? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, item 4, agenda item 4 for possible action, approval of the minutes from July 24, 2023. Commissioners have any comments?
I'll make a motion for approval of the minutes. I'll second it.
Okay. Don made the motion and Joan seconded. Right. I'm helping. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, motion passes. All right, moving on to agenda item 5, 5A, HRC 2023-0335, for discussion only, update on work at the Brewery Arts Center located at 449 and 501 West King Street, APN 003-20706 and 003-20707.
Heather Ferris for the record. At your last meeting in July, you had requested an update on the work at the Brewery Arts Center. Here today is Spike McGuire, the Executive Director of the Brewery Arts Center, to provide you with an update and answer any questions you may have. Come on up,
Great.
Spike.
Welcome. Please state your name for the record.
For the record, I am Spike McGuire, Executive Director, Brewery Arts Center. Sorry, I missed the button there. So fancy. I know one of the items is building a fence around the dumpster, so I looked into that. And apparently the reason that we haven't done that yet is at the time that we went to do it, due to COVID, they weren't doing permits. We needed a permit to do that, and they were going to keep us posted on when that permit was available. I just started in January, so I've done my best to catch myself up on all of these things. So that's where we're at on the dumpster. I'm going to guess that perhaps those permits are available to get now. Excellent. So I will be seeking more information and working on getting that completed. And what else would you like to know?
I have a list.
Wonderful.
I'm one of the people that wants this on here.
Yeah.
The painting of that steeple, the painting of the graphics on the building, on the brick building, the removal of the louvers on the steeple, they got to go. That's got to be restored back the way it was in my personal feelings. Nobody's ever brought anything to the board on that. We don't allow anybody else to do that. And just because it's the Brewery Arts, they should not be allowed to just do what they want with these historic buildings. We are tasked with watching the exterior of our buildings. And what I would like to see is that somebody comes back in a relatively short period of time, because I've been talking about this for over a year, about how we're going to get these things put back into the state that they should be on a historic building.
I believe that there was discussion on getting new louvers on there and debate over whether they needed to be functioning louvers or if they could be visually louver representative. I can't think of the word I'm trying to say here. As far as the paint, it was my understanding that we kind of have our own jurisdiction over painting of colors and trim.
That's wrong.
Okay. And if you could direct me to more information on that, I would definitely like to educate myself better. I will say that we are very dedicated to those buildings. I'm happy to say that we just got done with a major brick restoration on the brewery building. We just did a $350,000 restoration to get all of the layers of paint off of that building. We were proactive while the scaffolding was up for that as well. Mikey, my director of operations, got up and painted all of the trim on all of the windows, just a flat black that looks really great with the building. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it since the restoration's been completed. Just got done, I think about 2.5 weeks ago is when they finished that.
I was there last week, and that's when I looked at the steeple, and they have removed some of the other, but the way it works is when you want to do that, and staff will be happy to help you, it's not that we come and tell you what you have to do. You need
Yeah.
to come and ask us if you can do those things, provide the required drawings, what you intend to do with the building, and what you've done is you've just painted, the psychedelic colors up there on the steeple, and it's really not in character with the historic nature of that structure.
Yes.
So I'd like you to bring something back so we can reject it and get it back the way it was.
I have a question on that too, because I understood also that we didn't have control over paint and color for exterior. I'm wrong too? We have jurisdiction over paint?
Go ahead,
Heather Ferris, for the record. So we do not take jurisdiction over paint colors.
I believe the issue was that the louvers were operable. They were meant to be there for a reason, for airflow. And that was, the fact that they were boarded over was more concerning to us. We did go out for a site tour. We talked a lot about how to vent that steeple, the reason they were there in the first place
Yeah.
historically. And you may, even just from the small amount of time that they've been covered over, have a major problem inside, more of a problem. So how do we want to do this, Heather? Should we get this back on the agenda? And then we can review the color thing.
So I think since this is discussion only, I think we do need to have some cooperation from the property owners as far as getting an application back to us so that we can bring something forward to the HRC for review.
Are we asking for
Repair them back to their current status? How would they make an application on paint if they don't have jurisdiction?
I think in the last meeting that we had when Mikey came and updated us, there were the two chimneys that were removed on the south side of the building on the what was called the green room. There was also the louvers were taken out of the the steeple, and he talked about somebody being able to rebuild those louvers and maybe put them on the outside. Nobody was really sure if they were taken out or just boarded over, you know. And there was ventilation, but I don't think we really care about ventilation, more so the historic nature of the building. You know,
Yeah, from my understanding, the covering up, as I said, I just started there in January, so this
So-
project was before my time, and I'm happy to be here working with you guys to rectify this relationship and make sure that we're all working together as a team. I know a large reason that the area was covered is there was a considerable amount of dead bats, dead birds, droppings of live bats, live birds, other critters. So I know, again, I was not there at the time, but it certainly seems that it was well intentioned.
And we're just here to rough you up, by the way.
Yeah.
Because we know that you came in January and you kind of get the brunt, but you know, it was like it just all of a sudden got painted. They painted steps, and then they covered over the louvers or took the louvers out, and then they took the chimneys down. And you know, Gina and Mikey both know where I sit on this board, and
Yeah.
they know where I come from. That the paint color we don't have jurisdiction over, but when it comes to art and murals, that falls into a whole different category that we can't touch. But the biggest concern, I think we approved the windows in the 1980s edition to use the Anderson meldwood, which is 60% plastic, which really isn't what
Yeah.
we'd like to see. We like wood, but that was a 1980s edition. And in the back, you've got some windows that are falling apart. The sashes are coming across, you know, to fix those. But I think it was the steeple. We had debate on leaving the cross there because it originally was started as a church when Peter Kavanaugh built it in 1872, 71. But I think it was the chimneys and the steeple mainly, wasn't it, Don, that we're concerned about?
Yeah, and I brought up the idea about the murals that were on the building, and I'll work with staff, and I just, to me, it's a historic building within Carson, and I'll work with Heather, and I'll be happy to work with you and see if we can't come to some kind of a plan on the steeple.
Yeah.
And the cross was one of the major issues
Right.
we had, and it was determined it would stay, not because of any faith related, it was because it was a historic component of the building.
But has that since changed?
So my understanding, and this occurred before my time here with you all as well, my understanding is that Hope had some conversations with the DA's office about the legalities of us requiring them to keep the cross. And I'm going to have to revisit that specifically with the DA's office unless Todd knows off the top of his head.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head. I do remember that Ben looked into that when he was staffing the Historic Resources Commission, and so I'll follow up with him and find out what he figured out.
Okay.
And also there was another cross on the south end of the building of the original sanctuary that had been taken off, and the one that's on the steeple, for lack of being able to get up there, is probably more or less why it stayed.
Okay, but I do want to emphasize, Jed, that some of us are concerned with the louvers being put back because that wasn't a design feature originally.
I am very much wanting the original louvers back.
Okay.
I know what birds, bats, and bees are when a wood rain gutter comes off, and you have to deal with that in your own house. And yeah, I've been with the gamut, and you know, if there's any pieces left that are salvageable, I think they should be used, and then it needs to mimic it. And whether you put the louvers back in as they were and then board them up from the back, or put netting back there or screen, there's a lot of things you can do. But I mean, it's you know, and part of the reason that it was open was for the bell, and they came and got their bell. John Procaccini facilitated that, I believe. But yeah, to have it come back to the way it looked in 1980 without tearing down the 1949 brickwork or the 1980 stuff. But I think if I would love to see it restored.
I want to say that I think the restoration of the brick building is fabulous. It couldn't look better. It
Yeah, I'm
just
very
really,
pleased.
it's so delightful to see it cleaned up. It
Yeah.
really, really looks good. So put that out there.
I will second that or echo that because I I did go for a site tour with Mikey and Mike Drews, who's our chairman. We went down, take a look before the scaffolding came down and to meet the masons. And sounds like you guys had an easy, you had a very good process with the Nevada SHPO. And so we were
Yeah, SHPO
interested
was
in that
wonderful.
because it's challenging when you're dealing with a historic masonry building and you have to deal with mortar analysis and all of that. And you had the lead paint removal, which apparently went seamlessly. So
It did, yeah, they were just emptying out the container today. It got all back to a good level. I don't know the scientific terms of the enzymes they used in there to get the lead content down. They were able to drain most of the water and then take the solids out separately.
and then you did also receive funding from the Brownsfield project for that?
Yes,
Which
yeah,
is
for dealing with the
fantastic.
wastewater. It was wonderful. And then we did wind up putting in $38,000 of our own
Yeah.
Brewery
yeah.
Arts Center money. Once they got the paint off, there were a lot of concrete patches that were just covering up big holes of bricks. And so SHPO worked with us and Abstract Masonry, who did that wonderful work to get brick that matched, new brick made to match perfectly those 100-year-old bricks, and just filled in every missing chunk there was from the concrete blocks. Yeah, Mikey said, well, here's this extra cost. And I said, well, what are we going to do? Just do all of this wonderful work and leave the building filled with holes and then come back for it later. So it wasn't ideal budget wise, but I strongly felt that it was a great project we were doing and we needed to do it right,
Yep.
fully.
Okay.
I like giving credit where credit's due. Back in 2012, John Procaccini is the one that started that whole thing. And SHPO gave him the funding for the east side of the building, and the state maxed out its bonding capacity, and they lost it. They weren't able to supply that part of the project. And Mikey and Gina talked to me a lot about that, and they diligently went after to get the rest of the grant. And in that meantime, John Lambert had sold Abstract Masonry, so it was a whole different crew of people that did it, but they just did an excellent job. And, you know, it looks fantastic. And I know if Arnold Millard was around, Arnold Millard, the last brewmaster, he'd be smiling ear to ear along with my mother, so.
I'm very excited. They're about to take away the tank that was collecting the wastewater. So hopefully on Monday, we'll get to see that the King Street side of the building in its full glory.
Any other comments from commissioners? All right.
If
Heather.
I could just quickly recap, we want to have an application that addresses at the minimum, the louvers, the chimneys on the south side of the church building, and then potentially the paint. And I can work with the DA's office on the issue of the cross.
And to replace the cross that was on the rear of the south
Yeah.
side as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if there's a religion problem with the one cross, there's a religion problem with two crosses.
I don't think the problem was religion. It was what the original use of the building was and how it was built and what it was built for. So, yeah, well, you weren't here.
We did.
What we did is
feel-
we determined it was a defining character of the building. It had nothing to do with religion, anything like that. It was a defining character in the original use and construction of the building and the intent of the building.
I do think it's difficult to separate the cross from religion, just on the record, I'd like to say.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you soon. All right, moving on to item 5B, HRC 2023-0324 for possible action, discussion, and possible action regarding a request by Belfour Property Restoration to allow for the reconstruction and restoration of the historic Lee residence located at 340 North Minnesota, APN 003-192-21. Heather?
Heather Ferris again for the record. The property at 340 North Minnesota Street was originally the site of the Central School and was purchased by Dr. Lee in 1906. He demolished the school and utilized the materials to build the house in 1907. The house was converted into an office building and has housed RCI since 1978. As we all know, in October of last year, there was a significant fire that left the historic Lee House uninhabitable, and what remained of the structure had to be demolished, leaving only the foundation, existing main level floor, and porch deck framing, and the fireplace and chimney on the north side of the building. The application before you today is for the proposed reconstruction of the historic Lee House. The bulk of the work will occur on 340 North Minnesota, highlighted here in yellow. However, there will be some minimal work to provide accessibility from the western part of the RCI campus. An accessible ramp will provide an accessible path of travel from the parking lot at 505 West Telegraph, and a lift will be located at the rear of the reconstructed building. The proposed reconstruction will be accomplished using the same form and finishes to match the original, using replicated and salvaged materials. Sampling of the materials has been provided by the applicant. Let me get to those. So exterior paint and roofing will match the rest of the campus and what the house had looked like just before the fire. Windows will be replaced with Pello wood-framed windows to match size, location, and pane configuration of the originals. Corbels, trim, and siding will be milled to match the original. Scallop details will also be cut and painted using fire-resistant shingles to match the originals. And then the historic lights, the exterior lights, there are 3 of them on the property. They'll be repaired and retained. And the other lights that were located on the house will be replaced with something that is as close as possible to matching those. Most of the picket fencing is still in place. However, there has been some that's been removed for the construction project and put in storage, and the plan is for that to be reinstalled. Per the Secretary of Interior standards, reconstruction is defined as the act or process of depicting by means of new construction the form, features, and detailing of a non-surviving site, landscape, building, structure, or object for the purpose of replicating its appearance at a specific period in time and at its historic location. There are 6 specific Secretary of Interior standards that must be met for reconstruction, and a full analysis of those are included in your staff report. The staff report also contains a full analysis of the Carson City development standards, and based on that analysis, staff is recommending approval of the reconstruction of the historic Lee House. With that, I'm available for questions. We also have members of the applicant team here and available for questions, and I believe Bruce Scott would like to address the commission.
Commissioners have any questions?
Good evening, and thank you so much for taking time on Friday afternoon. We really appreciate the efforts of the commission to do that.
Do you want to state your name for the record?
I certainly do. I just forgot. It's kind of like the public comment thing. I am Bruce Scott. I don't mean to in any way give you a hard time, but I'm Bruce Scott with Resource Concepts. I'm also a co-owner through NTMA LLC. Other owners are here tonight, John and Carolyn McLean. Also, Jeremy Drew, and did Joe come? Oh, there's Joe Cassiopo. So Resource Concepts owns 25% of the property, so there are 25% interest in NTMA. And so you have Resource Concepts as a tenant, but also as a co-owner. So that's how the pieces fit. Belfour is our contractor for the demolition and the cleanup, and has retained K2 Engineering. Jason Warfield is here from K2 for any questions that he might be able to help with when we get to that point. And so we are pleased to be here. And we're obviously, we're committed, as I told you, I think in December when I was at this, in front of you just as a kind of a progress report, that we're committed to putting the building back. We recognize the exterior needs, and we will, to our knowledge, other than a couple of minor things, the wheelchair lift and maybe an inch or two difference on the height of the railings, we don't think anything on the exterior is going to be very distinguishable from what we had before. We're perfectly willing and definitely plan, and our design team and the construction team is committed to reproducing what we had. We did have a few odds and ends, like a couple of transite asbestos cement columns that won't be replaced with the same material, but we're going through that process. So we are here to answer questions. The interior will be similar but not identical. We have some plumbing to change with downstairs bathroom, upstairs bathroom, but basically it'll be very similar inside, although we will make some minor changes. The exterior, we don't propose any changes that would be, not in keeping with the requirements. We've had really good support from Heather and the staff. Hope has been great, and we really appreciate that. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions. I don't want to bore you or take any more of your time, but I'm happy to, we're here for as long as you need, but we don't want to tell you things you don't need to hear or don't want to hear, and we're happy to focus on the questions you do have.
Well, I'm very glad that you were able to salvage some material. That was the question I had asked when you submitted the demo packet. I guess this is for K2. Are you going to repoint the sandstone base?
The granite base?
Yes. Come on up.
It's okay, we'll make you look up.
Yeah.
Please state your name for the record.
Jason Warfield, K2 Engineering. Our current plan is to save the granite foundation blocks. There's a rubble foundation behind it, and we're looking at a way of gunite all of that together with reinforcing. Black Eagle Consulting Engineers has been out there. They've given us compression tests of the stone. And so somebody was working on it until about 4 o'clock today. And we will have foundations put together. So the current plan is to put that together. Carson City Building is going to make that a little challenging for us, but we think we've got a path moving forward with them.
So for the mortar, because I've seen it in
Sure.
situ there, what you've left. The mortar, I was just wondering because in a fire, it changes the composition, so.
Correct, yeah, so they'll have to get in and repoint that, and I don't have Black Eagle's paperwork in front of me, but I know that they have addressed that, and it'll either be repointed or it'll be left as a facade behind what we really,
What
what
you're gonna
what
put
we're gonna do
behind
behind it, and so that's on the design table right now.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
going with the foundation, are they gonna bring it back to where it looks like granite and not paint it? And,
No, it's going to stay
Stay in granite.
okay,
the way
great.
it is.
And on that thing, I'd love to see the chimney restored back to the red brick, but you guys are doing plenty as it is. And on my house, the sandstone, I had to remove the paint off of that, and that can be painstaking, but,
Really? We have just gone through our 4th set of tests on lead in the area around the perimeter of the building. We almost don't have any dirt there for the landscaping in the future. But that lead paint has just been a killer. But I wouldn't say absolutely not, but I wouldn't hold my breath. From a cost perspective, we're obviously quite concerned.
Yeah, little bit of a waterproofing issue as well. I mean, something to prevent the degradation of that stuff would be nice to have a decent coat of paint on it.
Well, I mean, when you take a non-maintenance surface like brick and paint it, that's really not the best thing to
Yeah.
do. And
Could you
it's probably
press
just,
your button when you're talking?
Oh,
he's green.
It
It's
is?
green, yeah. No, I know, and it's possible, and, you know, like the Brewery Arts Center, a lot of the brick was degraded, and they did have to seal it because you lose the patina, but with soft materials and things like that, you can get the paint off without ruining the patina. And, you know, the chimneys on my house, we repointed the mortar because it had the same black stuff that the Brewery Arts Center had on it, and you can see where the water's wicking through the brick and actually slowly taking that off now. You know, that's just my wish list, and you know, what you've seen what I've done to my house. I've pulled 1,500 pounds and we've gone through everything and got rid of the lead pipes and the asbestos, or I don't think there was asbestos in it, but nonetheless, that's on my dream list, that the brick gets restored, but I appreciate your efforts to do that. I had a question going through the packet. It says talks about casement windows. Were the windows in there originally double hungs?
No.
They were.
No, I'm telling you the wrong thing. They were double hung, single pane.
and the proposal of I'm a little confused because casement sounds like a typo.
It
Oh,
was
that's
just in the
kind of,
brochure in our packet.
Oh,
But-
no, the plan is to do single hung windows. Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna do the single
but
hung
they
or
will,
double hung
they will
windows, okay.
match what was
Yeah,
there.
it's
Oh,
the,
okay.
it's single hung 6/6.
Okay, just to match the original. That was
yeah,
my,
yeah.
you know, I just saw casement on
The
there.
originals, we actually had some weights, you know, the old
You want some more?
cotton rope and weights. No, no, thanks. Yeah, but we will have better quality windows. We, years ago, not long after we bought it in 1978, we put up the storm windows, which were something that members of this committee would probably not appreciate if we were to come in today for it. And so we will be able to eliminate those with a much better window pattern and get that aluminum frame out of there. There is one other thing on the fireplace. We are
On the windows.
very concerned about maintaining it, and we have some temporary shoring up there now. They're going to be doing a longer-term shoring starting on Monday, now that we have the approval. We got the clearance on the lead, so we can go ahead and start. We have a little bit more to remove. We will actually be able to keep a small portion of the vertical first floor wall in the northwest corner. A lot of that's going to come down, but right now it's holding the fireplace.
Well, and I saw you did take out a chimney, but that wasn't original to the building. I mean, the pictures from the 40s, it was added some
Yeah.
other time, so.
We worked with staff on that one because it wasn't a recognized historical feature of the building, and so we were able to remove it. And that actually went down to the basement for the coal-fired furnace
Makes
that
sense.
was converted to oil, that was converted to gas, that we won't be having we're going to have a gas heat and electrical air conditioning, but units in the attic and units in the basement, so we won't have the same kind of a heating system that we had before.
So my last couple comments, thank you for putting the wheelchair thing in the back. With my newfound electric wheelchair here, I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys are going so far to bring it back to original. And, you know, I would like to find out when the Fourth Ward School got added to the back from over on Roop Street, but thank you so much for your efforts.
I want to go back to windows for a moment because I don't want to create a conflict with other issues that we've done. What you're installing are wood, are clad wood,
Just straight wood.
the exterior too, because the details kind of indicated they were clad, but they're not.
I'm not sure the details that you had, but
In your packet?
the specification was for simply wood windows, as you see in the picture.
But
I
you're,
think
But
what
that's
got in the
clad.
packet was kind of all of the above instead of the specific.
Well, if I look at that section, that's a clad window.
Your eyes
That
are
is a
better than
wood clad window. It's a wood window, but it's clad. If you look at the sill, that angle piece that comes down in the exterior of the window, and in your packet, it's showing is clad. Now, I don't want to make, it seems like we always worry about windows and fences a lot on this committee. We've never had a building that burned down. But what I wanted to point out is we had a lady that came in here about a year and a half ago that wanted that Pella window clad, and we told her no, and we told her to rebuild those windows, and it would be better if she put storm windows on those windows. And I just want to be on record as saying, this is since it burned down and they're bringing it back, I think that I can go ahead and endorse this window. But we have told people in the past, no, to the very same window.
I did actually see the new Pella window, and it's not the Marvin. Marvin is the only one that makes the true wood window. But you had said 6/6 divided lights,
Mhm.
but don't you have one? You have several 1/1s there.
I think some of those,
The other building has multi-light. I'm just looking.
I was just going from some of the pictures, and maybe I am,
Yeah, as long as the light configuration is the same
okay.
as what was there originally,
Right.
right? Yeah, except for that looks like that's 1/1. Was that,
Some of those, I had a hard time, and I never saw this building except through pictures.
okay,
Some of that looked like storm windows
Right.
over what would have been the true divided lights. We had some interior pictures that showed divided light windows. In the places on the exterior, it looked like single glass, so.
is that right, Jed? What's theirs? I mean, it's 19. Yeah, I know there's double hungs. There's 1/1 is what I was expecting.
Right.
The front ones up top, you can really see that they were probably double hung. And, to put a single hung window in because you've got HVAC is really no big deal. You're not cooling it like we used to in the past. And, if they can come as close as they can with the pictures that are available, I'd be happy with that because, you change out a window and 6 months later, people don't know that there was a window or not a window there. When I pulled the siding off my house, people come by and said, when did this house get moved here? Because all of a sudden there was detail and you could see it. But, and this is a new build in the district. And we're not replacing windows in an existing building. I mean, this is basically a new build.
Right, but they need to be the same light configuration.
Well, sure, as close as they can, absolutely.
And I do want to point out with Michelle, the only company that makes an all-wood restoration window is Marvin. That's the only one. And the windows that you do have in your packet are all clad. They're all metal clad on wood.
Somebody snuck that in on us.
Well, we've also set a
Which
precedent.
if you have a 1/1, it's gonna look a lot better than if you have a 6/6. So
Oh,
we gotta double check that.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
we've set a precedence too, because
She had
over
one
over
of
my garage, I've got Anderson wood windows that are clad, and we've allowed clad in there, and that's a new build like this is.
No,
but-
we have not. We had a lady that came in here with the
Great house.
very same window, and we said no.
Okay, Don, I'll give you the notice of decision from this board that allowed me to do that on my garage. We have allowed that before.
And all I'm pointing out is, the last one we had in here, we as a board said no.
I
And we can
understand.
get you that notice
I-
of decision too.
I
But
don't
I'm
know-
okay with it. I just want to point out that these are clad, and if certain people come back and go, wait a minute, what's going on? That I think because we are new build that we can justify this. But we have said no and set a precedent for that. And maybe you shouldn't have on your house.
Maybe I shouldn't have rebuilt all my windows, but that's, the discussion here is what I'm saying, yeah, the Andersons were allowed on mine. This other lady that came in, whether it was Vivian Summers that were trying to put vinyl windows or something in there, I don't know exactly which house you're recalling right now, but we also, Peter Smith had a house on 4th Street, and the board said you need to make sure that the lamb's tongues are put on there, and the lamb's tongues are not put on there. And, there's been different things, but this is, as we can agree, Don, each case is a little bit different, and we've allowed it and we've disallowed it. So I appreciate your comments for the record. I mean, I really do, but I really do. In this case, I think because they're resurrecting a building instead of just demoing it and saying, hey, let's build something new, which I know you agree with, but, you know, I want to make sure that it has been set, but I guess that's up to the district attorney and Hope and staff and all that stuff to iron out.
If I could, there are no 6/6 windows in this building,
Okay.
period. There are in the adjacent building.
Right.
The windows are double hung, the old windows.
Agree.
And then the two upstairs that you can see in this picture are double hung
One over
windows.
one. Yep.
The one in the front, you can see the aluminum vertical in there that joins the two storm windows.
But that, behind the storm window is a one over one, or
It's a fixed window. That one did not ever open.
So what I'm hearing here is that it sounds like that due to the process that we're going through with this structure, are you giving us the option of either all wood windows, or because of the nature of the project, you would allow the clad windows?
I think,
I think that's what I heard from you, is that you were okay with us using clad windows, and they would be color matched to to the building. I just wanted to clarify that, because that's a cost consideration with the contractor and the overall rebuild of this cost of this project. It would be significant if we were allowed to do clad windows, and just the longevity of the building as well.
I know, and unfortunately, we can't consider that longevity thing or money thing. It's really not in our purview. I'm just stating that we have had, our most recent case was this very same window was brought before us, and we said no.
Okay.
But that was in a house that they were just replacing the windows. And I think this is a different condition where it's a rebuild and we have some latitude here. I just wanted to get on the record that we were approving a window that we had disapproved for somebody else. But because of the extenuating circumstance of the fire and the rebuild, that gives us, I think, some latitude there.
Wonderful. That's
Okay.
that's really great to hear.
Thank you. We
Yeah.
appreciate that very much.
the one thing that I thought was great, I mean, studying all these buildings and seeing your diagonal sheathing, that was really neat. I wish you could have saved some of that, but I understand.
It was interesting to us, even though it was our building coming apart, to
Oh,
see how they
okay.
had put it together.
Yeah.
I'd like to make one comment that I wish everybody that had a historic building would do. The photos that you have is not only assisted K2 in their endeavors, but also us as a historical board or people in the community that are interested in this. And when we have photo documentation like this, it makes it so much easier to go back and assist you and help you. You know, it's the people that lose it, and for some reason, the only thing they took a picture of was the doorknob. And then we're trying. At that point, it's better to just start from scratch. But I just want to commend you for the photo documentation on the building. And it's a wonderful building. My heart just went out to you guys when that happened. I called Bruce right away and just, you know, I know he was flying back at the time. So anyway, but thank you. And I can't wait till it's done. I think to see it come back you should all be commended.
Thank you.
So is there any concerns from the commissioners about the bringing the porch floor up, or the railings up, or the handicap?
I'm sorry, if
Those are
I
code
could,
issues,
Yeah.
and they really don't
Just wanna
have a
point them
choice.
out.
And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, they raised the front porch up on Andy Fant's house, Abe Curry's
Yep.
house, because there used to be a step there. But, you know, and raising the railing up 2 or 3 inches to bring it up to code just for safety. And, you know, when I redid my front porch, I found an original picket, and instead of being 12 inches long, it's 28 inches long. So the grandkids wouldn't fall off over it. And, you know, it's, you know, and when I was looking at wood windows, I rebuilt all of mine, and some of them were pretty bad. There wasn't a significant cost difference when I was looking between wood with metal clad versus wood. You know, I didn't find a significant difference there. On the wish list, yes, all wood. You know, is it a paint thing? Yes. You know, so you know, the wish list, my wish list would be like an entire wood window and with the chimney back to the red brick and all that stuff. But, you know, I want to reiterate what Don said. You guys are doing an amazing job, and to be able to have the desire and the want to be able to continue on and rebuild this landmark that was in town, because that was, I know it affected you guys bad, but the whole district, I think, was crying over the whole thing as well.
Yeah, we,
Motion? Is that okay? I move to approve HRC 2023 0324 based on the findings that the request is consistent with the design guidelines for the Historic District and the Secretary of Interior standards as noted in the staff report.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All right, call for the vote.
Aye.
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 thank you very much. And again, thank you so much for taking time on late Friday afternoon. We really appreciate it. It allows us to take our next steps and keep the ball rolling, which isn't rolling very fast.
I hope you come back throughout the process and update us.
Oh, we'd be happy
Stuff like
to.
that makes me, it
We'd
kind of
be happy
excites me.
to.
I had to go to your office a couple weeks ago and I'm going, they're back here in a trailer.
Yeah. That was properly permitted now.
As a kitty corner neighbor, I'm very glad you're rebuilding it too.
We're trying to keep our parkway up nice, even though the rest of the landscaping is hurting right now, so. We
Well,
lost one of our big trees, and the other one is right now holding up the fireplace. We're concerned about our landscaping, but, and the
Well-
fireplace hopefully will be intact, so we can talk again, Jed, about whether it should be red or white.
Well, and, you know, based on what you said about your parkway, I sure hope that rubs off on all the rest of the neighbors too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to staff reports.
So at your last meeting, you had requested confirmation that we're still members of the NATC. We have confirmed that Carson City is, and we've made sure that all members are going to be getting emails going into the future. So let us know if that's not happening, and we can track that down. Also, the 2024 forum is July 31st through August 4th in West Palm Beach, Florida. I'll keep you guys posted on, the potential for grant funding for that trip. I haven't seen anything. I just checked again today and I haven't seen anything posted. Right now, they're not accepting any applications for funding for the forum at this point.
Okay.
And then our next HRC meeting, should we need one, is currently scheduled for November 9th. And that's all I have.
All right.
Is it 2 meetings? At my first meeting, we asked about the funny structure that's on King Street that was a partially built greenhouse. And we had the wrong cross street. It's actually at Thompson Division. What came of that?
King and Phillips.
It's King and Phillips. Oh, Phillips, okay.
It's Shelley McMaster's house.
And so what, did that just sort of fade away, or did I miss the answer? Do we not have jurisdiction?
I thought that was a result of last month's meeting as well, or July's meeting. But I thought that I had gotten that answer out to everybody. I thought it was not in the district.
Right, and that was the building on Mountain and King Street.
Right, that was, so you had the wrong address, we think.
No, the one that I was talking about,
Uh-huh.
that I brought up, which I mentioned to Heather, she did have the right.
Hmm.
She did respond to the one that I was concerned with, that shed, and that was deconstructed. It was constructed and then deconstructed. But it's
So
not in the district, so it didn't matter.
As I recall, it's not in the district.
So the one
is
Joan was
anything
talking
on
about,
King?
what's that?
I'd have to look at the map.
I thought,
It's-
It was
it
just
should- It should be in,
outside.
it's 102 North Phillips Street. 102 Phillips Street, but
Which is what Joan's talking about.
that's where Shelley's house is. That's got like a greenhouse. It's got 4 sides with no roof or anything, and I think they,
and I'm pretty sure it got red tagged, but I don't know by whom. years ago, and then it's just been sitting there,
Oh, I see. I see.
kind of unsightly.
Any other comments or anything we want to see at the next meeting? Is everybody enjoying their Preservation Commission, NACP? Did you guys get the email? No, Mike and I did. Okay, good. Good. So public comments. The public is invited, at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to and within the authority of the Historic Resources Commission, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action may be taken on the matter raised under this item on the agenda. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, Denny French, Carson City. Thank you, Chair and commissions. Wow, I'm just so impressed. I'm so appreciative that the universe got me here today and that I had opportunity to see the exchange, the process that you go through and the efforts that you've made, the knowledge that you all have on the historical matters and beautiful building. I can't bring that up now, but the main thing is incredible, appreciated, and you're a well-kept secret, but you are not a secret visually. The community is, I think, very appreciative. Thank you very much. I know I am. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, agenda item 8 for possible action, adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second it if
Did we need that? We don't need a second. All right.